did it rely a lot on joint venture partners?
Yeah, so it's funny when people create a product, they're like, "Oh, it's going to be great, and everybody's going to come and buy it," and just like, "Oh my gosh," right? And that's not really how it works. It's not like build it and they will come kind of situation. It's okay, if you don't have a list, which my list at that time was just you know my mom and dad basically. So when I launched it is I really relied on my network of people that I've built and working with them on webinars and getting them involved. So it was really about leveraging other people's audiences and providing value to them, obviously. But you got to have the connection usually first. So
So how did you get those connections with basically no list?
yeah. So I mean, here's the thing: if you look at our industry, the internet marketing industry, or really any industry that has high level players, we'll call them the top of the industry kind of people. Um, Everyone's trying to connect with them and share their message with them and get them on board with their ideas, right? So it's basically if you're getting into an industry, you're surrounded by people yelling at the top of the people in the industry.
It's
They're
noisy.
they're like, let's talk, here's my idea, blah, blah, blah. So I kind of took a different approach. I didn't want to be that guy that's like, hey, we should do a JV deal and I can make you a ton of money and blah, it's just there's so many of those every day that people deal with. Um, my approach was really, okay, let's view this as a real relationship, as almost like I'm going into dating someone. How do you like to go about dating? It's not just a numbers game where you run up and it could be, I guess, but the effective way is to get to know them, to take them out on a few dates, get to do that whole deal as an analogy, I guess. But that's the approach I took. It's like, okay, let's be friends first before I try to do anything else, and leverage online tools and mainly Facebook, to be honest. Like 99.9% of my connections start there, right? So it was that first step was let's connect with these people.
So you connect with people on Facebook.
Right, right. So I mean, it's obvious, like okay, that's what you do. But it's funny. At least when I first started with doing this with Facebook, there was kind of that faux pas of, ooh, I don't want them to think I'm weird by just adding them without an introduction and stuff. And sometimes that's the case. Like you don't want to just straight up go and just add and whatever, because a lot of times they won't accept it anyways. Higher level people in the industry, they get hundreds a day, right? So for me, it was let's ease into that a little bit, get to know them, and then the second step, as far as the connection goes, was all right. Well, what kind of industry events are they going to be at that I can actually meet them at, right?
All right.
And
So you
yeah,
connect with them offline as well.
yeah, and it's funny. Some people, I've done some work with Frank Kern. I've never met the guy, and just called him times, and it was just through a Facebook group, to be honest. And the funniest thing about that is like he wouldn't accept my friend request like forever, and I was just and I was like, I just want a friend request because it's maxed out, right? His request. So I told him in an email, I was like, all right, so here's how much it'll be, and a bonus, you have to add me as a friend on Facebook. So that's how I got that. But yeah, so starting there offline or online gives kind of a starting point when you jump offline.
So how do
So
you cut through all the noise?
yeah, so there's so much noise, and here's the thing, like if you add somebody like on Facebook, right? So let's say you want to go add a high level person in your industry. Just
Oprah.
oh well, Oprah maybe.
Okay, Frank Kern.
Yeah, Frank or Lewis or Joel Comm or any of these guys. There's a couple ways to do it. And I'll share kind of the formula. And I hate to kind of use that term because it's like I don't like to view connecting with these people as an exploitative thing. Usually, you have to give 10 times the value that you expect to return. So you got to keep that in mind. It's all about giving, but if you want to connect with somebody and you're not just going to go and they're just going to add you, you can try to shoot them a message and say, hey, listen, I'd love to connect. We have a lot in common, same industry, and here's kind of the stuff I'm working on. But any way I can help you, just let me know. And sometimes that'll do it. Like you shoot a message, you get an ad, and then you're connected. You're in their circle of influence, right? Or they're in your circle of influence. But if that doesn't work, there's a way you can do it where you simply subscribe if they have subscribe enabled. So Facebook now, you can subscribe to people instead of just adding them as a friend, and add value to their posts. And this is a big step because, I don't know if Joel Kahn will watch this, but it took me like 3 years and to get him to accept my friend request. But basically, it just took adding value to his posts and by subscribing to him and just commenting on stuff. And the reason I do that is not to just say, hey, I'm mutual friends with Joel Kahn. It's okay, if we meet in person, now I have something to talk with him about as opposed to just traditional stuff, right? And you've experienced that. It's like, all right, we connected on Facebook, and this is honestly, like, let's be honest, people, first time we've ever spoken face to face like this, right?
Never spoken face to face before.
We chatted and shared,
I didn't even know you lived in Ohio until today.
Right. So it's funny. We have a backdrop, though. It's a social media backdrop. We have mutual friends. We have mutual acquaintances, and people you've interviewed or people that I've met and people I know you've interviewed, kind of thing. And so it's like we've got our little circle going on, right? So if you want to build that with an industry leader, you got to start from the ground up, and there's different ways kind of talked about is how you do it. But the main reason you want to do this is not necessarily so you can get something out of them, even though the law of reciprocity does kick in. It's just if someone does something nice for you, you're going to want to help them out, and that can be as simple as just leaving a funny comment on their post. So that's led to a lot of good relationships online, which have built offline relationships too. So that's in a nutshell kind of the hyper networking that we do these days. But it's it's a great way to connect with folks for sure.
All right, I hope you enjoyed this video, and be sure to like, share, and comment below. Subscribe to this channel for more interviews, and if you want to go further and be live on the interviews, you can go to mmt.tv/live to find out how. Like on Facebook and follow on Twitter to ask your questions, and be sure to get on the mailing list. Go to mmt.tv to get access to all the things that are not contained in these interviews. All the links are mentioned below, and until next time, break the rules, change the game, and be a rock star.